All right, so continuing with the blob brush, just going to finish off this inking. Then I'll show you how we bring the line work into Illustrator, or from Illustrator into Photoshop. Very similar to what we did with our logos to make them print ready. But the new thing is now doing digital coloring within Photoshop, not within Illustrator. And I'm going to make sure this will help with my digital color. Because this is Pokemon kind of solid coloring, I'm going to make sure everything's contained. So I had a little opening here. I want to contain that so that everything has a clean border. Sometimes simplicity is the hardest thing to get. That'll work. So as an illustrator, I definitely started out with just watercolors and ink pens, and then learned enough about digital art to help with the actual print production. Because you learn very quickly that no matter how beautiful your original artwork is, you need to know how it's going to be printed on the magazine or on the album cover. And you want to, as an illustrator, you are making work to be reproduced. So it's more important that the reproductions look good than that the original looks good. And that's what gets you into all these areas of digital art to kind of control the mass production, control the product that's going to be used. And so it's only in the last 10 years or so, really since Illustrator has been improved so much, that printers start to demand vector files. And now if I ever do a t-shirt design, I never even consider just making it by hand and sending them a photo or a raster file, no matter how high resolution of the image. I'm always going to optimize it by making it a vector. And understanding that is a huge advantage. It makes the print job so much cheaper. It makes the quality so much higher. And it gives you so much more creative control of the end product. I'm all for that. And my first course of study in graphic design was at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo State School there, where their other major besides graphic design that they were known for, something called graphic communications, which is something that still really interests me. And that's just learning the ins and outs of printing and refining things for reproduction. So though you don't major in graphic communications in order to make your own images, you become the expert on how to make the images look good for other people. So it makes sense for artists to want that for themselves, to not have to trust someone else to know how to optimize their own images. And digital is used for everything now, from silkscreen t-shirts to fine art prints, to, independent music posters and political baseball cap design. There are the people that know what they're doing and the people that don't, and you get very different quality products. And if I want to just erase whole out, I can use my eraser tool, of course. Just break the path. And redraw it. Or repaint it in this case with the blob brush. Coming to points is difficult, but as long as they overlap a little bit, there'll be a combined path that can then be corrected with your other tools in Illustrator. Whether you want to use the pencil tool, the smooth tool, the pen tool, whatever it is. I love the concept of the smooth tool, and it works really well on curves. When it comes to things like this, it just tends to do things I don't want it to do. So that's where using the pencil tool and sometimes going to full smooth is necessary. The only difference between accurate and smooth is how many anchor points it plots for you. The more anchor points, the more accurate to what you did. The fewer anchor points, the smoother the space between them. And then the trick with the pencil tool is having strong changes of direction. So you don't round out every corner. That's something you kind of get used to once you practice it. So for here, I want to use the pencil tool, and I want a single point, so I need to have a very strong change of direction right there to get that point. And then I can work up to it in a variety of ways. Sometimes you just need to get rid of anchor points too to simplify it. And of course, I love this small selection tool where you can just drag and pull anchor points and Bezier handles to get the curves you want. So many ways to modify it towards your purpose. Okay, I'm getting close here. Now with these tail feathers, I want them all to come to a point at the end. So this is where I'm going to actually overlap anchors so that they merge. And it usually works better than that. Let's see. There we go. It's kind of a well-known rule in Illustrator that you darken towards the V. So you want to kind of intensify your contrast as things come together. That just means that the inks pile up there, and it causes more visual tension. It makes it a little bit more dynamic. Honestly, I think I like the semi-rounded, so I'm going to go ahead and re-round those just a little bit. At least on the outside. Now it's also important to remember that spot illustration line work is not logo line work. It does not need to be perfect. You do not need to obsess over it. It's fine if there's little mistakes. That's kind of the character of a lot of this work. So, I could obsess. I'm good at obsessing. I could do this all day. But what I actually want is to show you how to start coloring this. Truly. All right. So I've got my line work done. And once I'm happy with that, maybe I'll throw a few of these in there. Oops. Once I'm happy with it, I can output it as a vector file and bring it into Photoshop to start coloring. And if I can control it all the way I want to, it makes coloring very enjoyable and not too difficult. In terms of line work, this is medium in terms of its complexity. But even simple line work needs to be done well. So let me save that within Illustrator. And I'm going to save it as an EPS file. Oh, but I'm going to turn off, I have to remember, to turn off my sketch layer underneath. So that all I have is this black line work. And I've only left it open right there. In fact, I'm rethinking that. I don't think I want to leave that open. So I'm going to go ahead and close this, smooth that out, and then I'll be ready to move the line work into Photoshop, just in time for the next demo. Remember, I have my pencil set on as smooth as possible. It's going to help me redraw this, keep it round. There we go. For the helmet there. I thought this was a little too thick for its size. I'm probably wrong. Okay, so now I'm going to save it. First just as itself, and then save as to the desktop. I will use my name. I'm calling this guy Nikomon. Assignment 7, line work. I already have my Assignment 7 sketch. And I'm saving it as an EPS, not an AI file, which allows me to move it between other programs besides Illustrator. Then I can close Illustrator. There it is. Now, instead of opening this with Photoshop, just like making a logo print ready, I open Photoshop on its own, and I'm going to create a new file that's large and high resolution enough to give me all of the beautiful coloring I'm going to add in. And by dragging and dropping my EPS file into that new Photoshop file, it will stay as a smart layer. So I'm going to use my 9x12 setup, 350 by 9 by 12 inches. I might even decide to make that a little bit bigger because this is more for a poster, so I might do 13 by 19 by 350 with a white background, RGB color. And then I drag and drop the EPS into it.